Hi everyone, welcome to another YouTube video. We are in the depths of December, run up till Christmas, and so we thought we'd come back and show you how this system's been performing. You can see behind me here we've got some lovely frost-ridden Perlite 400 panels. We've got 20 of these on this job with a 5 kilowatt inverter and a SolarEdge home battery. It's been going for a little while as this job, so we'll be able to show you some usage data, how it's been generating and the installation really. So yeah, let's get into it. Right, so we're in the garage now, obviously, and this is where all of our equipment's going. So we just started the install and we've fixed the battery bracket to the wall. So we've got some real big concrete fixings here, and there's actually two battens that run from the top down onto another cross piece here. We've screwed through those and into the blockwork as well, so it's got a really strong fixing. We've then drilled this hole here where we're going to fish our battery cables through, just so it's really clean, so there's no cables sort of on show at all for this system. We've then got this 5 kilowatt inverter. This is the SolarEdge inverter, so this will act as the route for the solar power to come into from the roof, but also the route for the battery to send power back out into the property. So that, we're just thinking about this, but we think that's going to go somewhere here, same sort of height as this distribution board to make it all look nice and symmetrical. So that's going to go up there. We're then going to have our cables come up through, there's like a cavity here, and back into the back of an isolator and pop out into the bottom of the inverter, so it'll all look nice and neat. We've then, next to it, we're going to put a hot water diverter, so the SolarEdge hot water diverter. So we've actually got, these are the existing immersion cables, so we're going to reroute those through a switch fuse spur and into the hot water diverter, just to make it all nice and neat and give us local isolation. That's going to go here, so everything's kind of in this space. It's quite tight, we haven't got a huge amount of room to play with, but it should all be nice and compact, all sort of back entry as well, so there's not going to be loads of trunking and what have you, which will make it look even cleaner. We've got hardwired internet here as well, so Rob has done a mint job in prepping all of this, because Rob's done all of this, prepped it up for us, put us the supports in the wall, got us our internet cable to it, so he's nearly finished the job for us, which is great. So we're just putting stuff to the wall today, planning stuff out, and getting as much of the wiring done, and then when we come back a little bit later on, we're going to start with the panels and get some power being generated at this property. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Right, so we've been working hard. Ollie's been getting some of the isolators and the inverter and everything sort of mounted here. Bowl back entry holes into these isolators to make it all look beautiful once it's done. I've been trying to get this cable route, the DC cable route, from here to the far side of the house, because we've got a group of panels going on the back of the house and a group of panels going on this face, which we'll go into a bit more detail later on. But what we've done is we've used some of the super rod rods, and I tell you what, I would not have been able to do this without them. I'm not one that endorses stuff that, you know, it isn't worth mentioning. We bought these out of our own hard-earned money, so we haven't been gifted anything. We've got basically the end of a rod here, which is just poking through here, which is where we're going to bring our armoured cable through, and it'll come back and into whichever isolator we deem we want to use for the back array, probably this one here. And then let's go upstairs and I'll show you where the other end is. So we're upstairs, we're actually above where the garage is, so I'm stood effectively right above the garage. So our inverter and our battery and everything is going in this corner here. And then because this is basically the roof space of the garage, what we've got like an eaves space along the back of this wall here. So what we're going to do is we're going to run our cable along the back of there, which is where the rod goes. So at the minute the rod is poking out in that little alcove area there, it runs along and then it comes to here. So this, it actually goes from here down and then along. So a really good fish, if I do say so myself. First time obviously as well that we got it. But yeah, it comes from here all the way down there. So we're going to pull our armoured cable to here, and then from here we go this way, which gets us up to the little landing area where we're going to put a DC junction box, and then from there we can take our singles PVC solar PV cable out onto the roof and into the back of the solar. So yeah, it's looking good. I'll show you what we've got this way. So if we come through here, I've got another hole just here, if you can see it, another hole just here, so we can get a rod between this hole and the one just behind us, and then this rod here goes through and back upstairs. So let's have a look at where that is upstairs. So this is the other end of that black rod that came from our second hole. So this hole here was already here from when Rob's been doing some other work in the house. So we've used that and pushed the rod through, so we get to this space here. From here, we go just outside into this area here. So from here, we can start to look at putting our junction box in this area. This area here is going to have basically like a cupboard built around it anyway. So we've had a chat to the customer and they're happy for us to put a DC junction box just here, and then from here we can go through and get our PVC cables onto the roof. So yeah, perfect little location for our DC junction box. So we've got our 2-core armoured cable up to here, because we've got the rod just poking through this hole now. So I'm going to just see if I can grab that rod through this hole. Once I've got that, I can then tape it onto this one, which takes us upstairs. So yeah, that's it there. So I've got that rod now, so I can tape this cable onto it, pull it through there, pull it through that next one, and then we're up to where we're going to put our junction box. So yeah, looking good. I can't believe we've actually managed to get it up here. So we've got the cable up here now, but we've had a little bit of a change of heart. So originally we were going to put our junction box over this side of the landing, but we've had a little chat, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to put the junction box at the other side, because that's the side that the panels are going to be on anyway. So instead of running single PVCs under the floor to get it back to there, we're going to run this armoured cable, which can be more protected. The customer's actually going to put an access panel over there so that you can basically get crawled in if you want. And we're going to put our junction box inside sort of the eave space, which means he has a clean wall here apart from like a white plastic door, which we'll probably show you next time. There's nothing really on that wall. So I'm just working now trying to get this cable across this landing. Chipboard floors, every electrician's nightmare. But we're going to put another 2 holes in. This one was an existing one, and we're going to put another one over at the on the far side, and then another one over this side, so we can get our rods through, because I'm hitting a noggin at the minute. Yeah, that's what I'm on with now. I'm going to get that pulled across, and then that'll be there ready for us next time when we come back to do the panels, when the access panel is in, and we can make the junction box in that little area there and get the other side terminated into the isolator. So yeah, looking good. Okay. So this is the other end of that cable that goes all the way up into the loft. So that is going to come through and into this isolator just here. We are not too worried actually about the arm rings, sort of earthing the arm rings, which may sound strange for electricians, but we're basically using this cable just for more mechanical protection. We don't want to introduce an earth to the panels, because we don't want to give it that path back to earth, because then we start giving it a path to leak DC onto the earth side of the system and just cause ourselves loads of problems. So it's basically just to give us a stronger cable basically that's more resilient. If you could ensure certain safety distances, we could maybe run it in singles, but putting an armoured cable in, it's so much easier. So we've run that in there. That's going to feed down and into this isolator here. Ollie's got the other isolator, which is going to be for the garage panels on. He's got our AC isolator here, which is going to be for the inverter, which is going to be here. He's then got our generation meter on as well, which is going to monitor everything that the system generates and what the battery does with regards importing and exporting. We've then got our adaptable box just here with our switch fuse spur here. They are going to, that's the part of the system that monitors how much energy the home's using. So inside there, we're going to have the Modbus, which is just on here. I'll grab it. So this Modbus will go in this adaptable box that Ollie's installed, and we'll have a supply into it, and then we'll have a CT clamp off it. So that'll go around the main incoming supply, and that'll monitor import and export and feed all that information back to the inverter, so the inverter can then control the battery to say, okay, I'm exporting 2 kilowatts, charge the battery with 2 kilowatts to remove that surplus, or vice versa, I'm buying 2 kilowatts, so discharge 2 kilowatts to remove that purchase of power. So that's kind of a really important piece of kit, is that. Without that, the system wouldn't know what to do. So that's where that's going to go, in there. And yeah, that's about it really. We've got an excess hole here to get our cables down the back to feed the battery, and we've got our access holes through the back of this board here to feed all the cables through back entry as well. So everything should be nice and clean by the time we're finished. And yeah, should just have the isolators and everything on show. Other than that, we're not going to see any cables. So yeah, looking good. Okay, so whilst we're in the freezing cold, we might as well look at these panels. So you can see here that we've got 12 of the Perlite 400s, like I mentioned, all black. We've got the mesh bird protection on this as well. It's actually a little bit more visible today than it normally is. It's covered in ice, so you can see it a lot more visibly. But in the summertime, when there's not the ice, hopefully, then it's very, very discreet on that. So that's just stop birds nesting underneath. This is the west face, so we've got a good powerhouse on the west face which will capture that more evening sun, and then we've got some others on the south face which captures the sun for the majority of the day. So we're going to have a little look at those in a minute, but these ones here, we've been having a look at it and they've been generating really well. So later on when we have a look at the app and how the system's been generating, you'll be able to see that. But I think they look really good on there. We obviously divided it up either side of the Velux here as well. And we had actually a bit of a decision to make here, whether or not we went centre of the roof or centre of the Velux. We had a chat to the customer and we decided centre of the roof to make the edges look the same, because the Velux isn't actually in the middle of the roof. So if you're thinking about commenting on that, I've just stopped you in your tracks. And yeah, the customer's really happy with them. So one thing just to touch on whilst we're looking at the layout of the panels is that we obviously get asked all the time, can we just fill this roof? And we see it on social media and when we're driving around, roofs that are absolutely packed with panels. Obviously you're getting more output on that, but I think there has to be a real consideration as to what it looks like. You know, Rob and the family will be out here having barbecues, showing friends, playing a bit of footy when their kid gets a bit older, and seeing a roof that is absolutely rammed with panels maybe isn't the way that people want to go. They want it to be generating power, absolutely, and to generate a lot of power, but also they want their building to still look attractive. Obviously we've chosen all black panels on this as well to make sure that it does look as attractive as possible, but we also had to make a consideration of, well, is putting less panels on this better for the aesthetics? You know, we might have been able to squeeze another one on somewhere or put some at different orientations, but it just wouldn't have looked right. So I think when you're considering solar, yes, you may look at squeezing loads of panels on, but will it make the roof look right? So when we're doing designs, we often think about that and sometimes even remove one or two panels and explain to the customer why we've removed those panels to make the system look and fit the building. We think these fit really well. We've got plenty of tile space around it and it just looks like it fits the roof rather than it's squeezed. You've squeezed loads of panels on there. So yeah, that's why we've chosen the layout that we have and spoken to the customer in depth about why we've done that. So we've had a look at these ones on this west face. Let's go around the other side of the building and have a look at these on the south face. So around the other side now, you can see behind me we've got these 8 panels on this side of the roof. So this is a south facing roof, thereabouts, and it's actually on top of where our full system is. So we've got the inverter and the battery underneath that. So again, exactly the same panels, Perlite 400 watt all blacks with the bird protection on. Again, nicely fitted to the roof. We've got this, on this house here, we've got the detail with the slate underneath the tile, which is quite unusual, but does add a bit of character. So obviously that narrowed down the space that we had to fit these panels on. So we've made the journey back into the house now, which is nice. We're warming up slightly, but you can see here, this is the brain of the system, if you like. This is where everything comes back to. So all those panels that you've seen, they all come back to here through these two isolators. So we've got the garage array, which is this one above us here, the 8 panels, and then we've got the house array, which is the 12 panels on the main roof and overlooking the garden. That then comes through and plugs into the inverter here. We've then got some more DC cables that come out of here and into this battery. Now, any of you that follow or subscribe to the DIY Journeys YouTube channel, they do loads of videos, so definitely worth a subscribe and a follow. You'll know that Rob's very particular of how things have to be, and so he's prepped all of this. This has actually got our fireboards on as well, but it's all been installed by Rob, battened out so that everything had a solid fix, like for the battery. Did loads of prep work, so saved us loads of time, and it's meant that he's got it exactly how he wants. So our cables all backfeed into all the isolators so that we've not got any trunking or anything like that. So again, very particular, and it's fantastic. That's how we like to be as well. So you can see it's really clean and just looks the part. So the garage is all getting done and to this level, so it'll be a fantastic garage. Anyway, I'm crushing over his garage, so I'll get back to this system. So we've got this 5 kilowatt solar edge inverter. So like I say, that's got 2 strings coming in from the panels, one in the house, one in the garage, and then we've got another string going out to the battery, which is how the battery will charge and discharge. So like I mentioned, that's 5 kilowatt, which is what we got DNO approval for. We've got an AC isolator here to isolate the AC side of the system, so the house side of the system. We've then got this generation meter here, which is logging everything that we are generating. Now this is actually a net or a bi-directional generation meter. So what that means is that it'll log the generation that the inverter is, or what the power, the current, sorry, that is coming from the inverter into the house, but it'll also log what we've scheduled the battery to purchase from the grid. So during an overnight tariff, which Rob's got, the battery will purchase energy at a lower rate to put into the battery to then give that back to the house the next morning when the peak rate has come back. So what this does, it logs the energy that we buy in to put into the battery, and then the energy that is then pushed out. It can then, on the net screen, it'll then give an indication as to the amount that the system's actually generated, because it knows what's come in and it knows what's been pushed out. That's what that meter does. That's an MCS requirement. I'd love to see that scrapped because we've moved on since the feed-in tariff days now, but that's just how it is. We've then got our solar edge mod bus, which is in our clear lid box, and that is what is telling the solar system and the battery system what the home is importing, exporting, and therefore tells the battery when to charge or when to discharge. So that is all built into this box. Then we've got our 3 amp fuse in here just to fuse it down and give an easy location to isolate or power cycle that mod bus if it ever needed it. You'll notice there's no screen. Again, I do mention this quite a bit, but there's no screen on the inverters. We've just got these light indicators. Blue for internet, green for generation, solid green for generation. If the green light is flashing, that just means that you're in startup mode, shutdown mode, or there's maybe something wrong with it generating. The battery, 10 kilowatt hours. Again, I've said this a few times, but 10 kilowatt hours, 9.7 usable. This is wall mounted, so we're not on a floor stand. Like I said, it was battened out nice and securely, so we had a really good, strong fix there. Document holder here, all of our documents in. You know the score if you watch some of our stuff now. This is what we've got in here. Rob had a new consumer unit put in as well, double stack consumer unit, so we've got plenty of room in there. And that's about it. Future plans for this is we're actually going to be installing a hot water diverter. So that'll allow us to either send power into the battery or into the hot water cylinder that Rob's got, which is just over on the other side of the garage. We're just waiting on stock. So that's a bit of a thing with Solar Edge at the minute as they transition from one type of products to a new family of products. Is we've got some slight stock delays, which is just the case at the minute. We've got stock delays on most things, but yeah, that's just something we're facing on this job. So we need to come back and probably do another video of when we installed the hot water diverter. But the next step really is to dive into the app and have a little look at how this system's been performing. So as a common theme with our videos now, we're showing you what we've installed, how much it's cost, and the time that it's taken us to do it. It'll help you hopefully plan the financial side, the time that's needed, and show you as to what scale we've gone to on this job as to the cost and everything. Obviously the costs take with a pinch of salt. The world is in a weird place. I don't need to tell you that, I'm sure. Stock prices of kit and stock are very volatile at the minute. So this was the price at this time, which was towards the beginning of the year, something like that. So things have moved quite a lot, but it'll hopefully give you some idea. So anyway, this is what we've installed. This is the cost of the full installation, not including the hot water diverter. So this is what we've installed now. And this is how long it's taken us to install it. So obviously there'll be more cost to this job as we add the hot water diverter, but this is what we've installed and the cost and the time that it's taken for us for now. We've had permission from the customer to share that information, so hopefully that just helps you inform your decision on hopefully your system that you get installed. Okay, so let's have a look at the SolarEdge app and how this system's been performing over the period of time that it's been installed. So we'll have a look at this front screen, and actually the sun has just come out on here. So we'll start at the top left before the sun disappears again. So we've got, oh, it's just gone now. So you can see here we've got 100 watts being generated from the solar PV. That's just dropped to 50 watts. It's moving all the time as the sun comes in and out, and it's poor anyway. At the minute it's poor because it's we're at the back end of the year. You can see the battery is 50% charged as we set a charging schedule up for this to charge up overnight. So you can see that that's now delivering the majority of the power that the home needs of 2.67 kilowatts. And there's nothing happening with the grid, which ultimately is the goal. So that's what's happening kind of live in this property. If we move down, we can see today it's not generated anything because it's not been enough yet. This month it's generated 28 kilowatt hours, and in a lifetime it's generated 1.77 megawatt hours, which is 1,770 kilowatt hours. So you see today we've got the consumption, so you can see here that that's mainly due to the overnight charge of the battery. We go around and we've got the week, so we can see what the consumption's been, production's been. So you can see the production has been fairly low compared to the consumption, but that's just the nature of solar PV. Move through, you can see monthly, again, you can see we've had some better days than others with the generation, but the consumption has remained fairly high. And then yearly, we can see here that we've got in August was when we've turn this system on. So you can see here that we've got August, September, basically for the back half of the year. And so we haven't got anything for the front half of the year, which probably is going to be the better generation. We've not got any data yet because it wasn't installed, basically. So that'll all start to repopulate for next year. You can also see here that we've got self-consumption for these first 2 months. And the reason for that is because for those first 2 months, we didn't have the time of use tariff turned on, which allowed this system to monitor self-consumption. Now, the SolarEdge app needs to be improved. We aren't paid by SolarEdge. We choose SolarEdge products because we feel like it's superior. The app does need to be improved, and we see that this is our sort of side of the app. The customer's app does need to be improved to show much better information, clearer information, and also give more controls to the customer. So we've all fed that back, and SolarEdge are in the process of making those changes. So yeah, if you've got a SolarEdge system, you're watching this, you're thinking, Sam, why don't you talk about the problems with the SolarEdge app? Absolutely, there are problems with it. We've expressed those, and I know there's plenty of other people that have expressed those as well, and so it is in the process of being improved, which we hope then that will allow the self-consumption tab to come back even when you've got a battery on time of use. But anyway, I digress. We've got all this information here, which all feeds back into what the customer can see on their app and start to see how they're doing with the generation. We've then got month, quarter and year. So we can go through these and see how the system's been doing over the different months of the year, the different quarters or the different years. And obviously as time goes on and the years tick by, that can be compared to different years, different months, and see, just out of interest really, see how the system's been performing. If we go to the battery tab, we can see here that the battery is currently at 49% and is discharging. See, there's not a huge amount of information to show you on this one. That's just what that's showing. And then this one here, we can actually see the layout of the panels. So with this, we can zoom in here and see those 12 on the back. And we're on the daily tab at the minute, so I'm just going to change that to total, just to give us some better numbers. We can see here now that every panel on the back has been around the 80. Some of them are a little bit lower, 76, but they're all around the 80 kilowatt hours mark per panel. There'll always be differences in that. That's just the nature of having different components on your roof with different manufacturing tolerances, or different levels because of manufacturing tolerances, different cleanliness of the panels, things like that. Slight different shading issues with, like on this one, a bit of a parapet wall. These ones here though, which are the ones above us on the garage, these ones here are on the south facing roof. So you can see the average is probably around 80 kilowatt hours on the main house roof, whereas the average on the garage roof is more like 125-ish, something like that, 130. So you can see these south ones are, well worth putting on, because that's another assessment we have sometimes is, well, is it worth the scaffolding to put them on? And even though there's only 8 panels on here, because they're orientated in a better way than the ones on the main house, it means that we can increase that generation by having just those 8 panels, with every single one generating over 120 kilowatt hours in its lifetime. So all that added together over 8 panels is actually quite a significant improvement on the generation. So yeah, so that's pretty good. We can then go back down the order if we want. Yearly, it's only been installed a year, so that's going to be the same, but monthly we can then see what the system's done this month. You can see these ones here, the ones on the main house, are a lot darker in colour than these ones, and that's simply because there's been a difference in generation, and quite a large difference. Each one of these during this month, which are on the 13th at the minute, they're all about 1.3 kilowatt hours ish, something like that, 1.3, 1.4. But these ones on the south roof are around 5. So there's quite a difference in that. If we were to see a dark colour in the middle of these ones on the south roof, then we'd be like, oh, why is that one generated a lot less than the others? We can then deep dive into that and see what the voltages are, see if there's any error codes, and basically see what's happening in the system. And that's the benefit of SolarEdge. We can monitor those components that are on the roof and inaccessible. We can monitor all that, which makes our job and gives that peace of mind to the customer that the stuff that is very difficult to monitor, if you haven't got something like this, they're working okay and they're working well. So one last thing on the app is let's have a little look at how the system's actually been generating. So we can see at the minute I've got the year tab open here, and we've got the system production of 1,780 kilowatt hours, and then we've got the consumption of 4,460 kilowatt hours. Now this customer has got an EV that they use for work, and so that quite a lot of that consumption is probably based on the EV side of things. However, we've only had the back end of the year on this, and we've generated 1,780 kilowatt hours. So you imagine next year when we end up with 12 months worth of that, you can see that will start to make a real large dent into that home's consumption. And when we get to this in this centre part here towards the middle of the year, these bars may even be flipped so that we're actually generating more than what we can consume. So whilst this looks like the solar has not made a huge difference, it's actually made quite a difference considering the time of year that we're in, and that this system's been active. Imagine we get past the start of next year and we've got this middle section of the year where we're going to be generating vast amounts of energy compared with a lowered consumption because we've not got the lights on, heating on, all the rest of it, to actually make a much deeper impact into this property. But the customer's over the moon with the impact that it's having, and that's all we want as an installer. We want the customer to be happy and feel like it's all been worthwhile installing. We may end up doing another video in towards the back end of next year, so in around 12 months time, to see how this year has fared, but how next year has fared, sorry. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that. It's been generating pretty good. So if you have a look at this chart here, so we had nearly 800 kilowatt hours in August, 506, 359, 97. So you can see there it's tailing off, but it would be scaling back up again towards the first few months of next year. So yeah, just thought we'd touch on that. Okay, so that's another YouTube video wrapped up. So hopefully you've enjoyed us taking you through this system and seeing everything that's gone into it, how the system looks now, a bit of the future plans of what's been happening. So if you have enjoyed this and some of our other videos, then please subscribe, like, share, and also go to DIY Journeys page on YouTube and like and subscribe to that. It's got really good content with everything DIY. They're following the renovation and the work, the ongoing work in this property here as well, which we've played one small part of in getting them the renewable system started. We'll be back to this property at some point as well to do the hot water diverter, so keep an eye out for that video. And thank you very much for joining us. We hope you have a good day.